Okay. Please note this is a virtual meeting with remote public comment. Council meetings now live streamed. To view the council meetings live, go to WCTV's New Jersey, WCTV NJS YouTube here and click on channel Township Council Meetings. The YouTube live stream will be available to view during the live council meeting. Welcome to the regularly scheduled public meeting of, this is not the right.
February 16th.
Yeah, I'm just making sure.
What do you got, Stacy?
It says February 1st. I'm just making sure I've got the right one.
Mine says 16.
Mine says 16.
Mine says first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another
Okay,
packet.
can we just pause for a second? I want to make sure I've got the right. You know what? I've got it on. Hold on. This is what I just opened.
You had two probably, the one from the first meeting.
Right, they're both dated on the front on the label.
Oh, no. You know what? Sorry. I reviewed it online. Just give me 1 minute.
Mr. Tova, you with us?
Please note this is a virtual meeting with remote public comment. Council meetings now live streamed. To view the council meetings live, go to WCTV NJ's YouTube here and click on channel Township Council Meetings. The YouTube live stream will be available to view during the live council meeting. Welcome to the regularly scheduled public meeting of February 16th, 2021 of the Township of Washington Township Council. Adequate notice of the meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers in January, and this meeting has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board, electronic message board, the WCTV, and on the Township website. Salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
The flag
of
of the United States of America,
Republic for
and
which
to the republic
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
liberty and justice
Amen.
for all. Amen.
do roll call.
Councilman Casio.
Here.
Councilman Cumming.
Here.
Councilman DeSena.
Here,
Councilwoman Morgan.
Here.
Council President Feeney.
Here. Let the record reflect also in attendance Mayor Calamari, Township Administrator Tovo, Township Attorney Poller, and the Township Clerk Wachowski. We also have on the phone Robbie Conley, just so everyone's aware. Okay, public service announcement, February 16th, 2021, COVID vaccination information. The New Jersey Department of Health Vaccine Call Center provides information on how to register for the vaccine, as well as how to schedule a vaccination appointment as people become eligible. The number is 1-855-568-0545. The lines are open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. COVID-19 testing. Bergen County has launched a drive-through COVID testing at Bergen Community College. The program will offer antigen nasal swab rapid COVID-19 tests that provide results in 24 hours or less. Please visit our website for dates and registration information. Current year 2021 budget matters. Local Finance Notice 2020-28 of December 30th of 2020 refers to budget deadline extension and enforcement. Please visit our website under Government tab, Budget, Financial page for the Local Finance Notice. Stigma-free and mental health. For mental health resources, please visit our website and click resource link for further information. Council meetings are now live streamed. To view the council meetings live, please visit the Township website for further information. 2021 dog cat license renewals. Please note that a $5 late fee began on February 1st, 2021. A late fee of $25 will begin starting March 1st. Reminder, please take a moment and visit our website to review the Township snow removal guidelines, parking ban, and safety reminders. New scammer tactics. PSE&G warns all customers to be alerted for requests for payments via digital payment apps. Public comment. We ask that callers turn off or mute their televisions to reduce any feedback or noise. And also for Ninja, this meeting, the Ninja feature for allowing the public to call in was not available due to an OBS recording issue. We will have it up and running hopefully for the first budget meeting after we confirm the OBS software will be able to record the meetings the same way. I'm also trying to work with our township clerk to see if we can use the Ninja platform to record the minutes for the meetings and maybe move away from the OBS software as other towns are currently doing. Okay. First up, we have a proclamation for the Green Team. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. Yes, it's my pleasure to read a proclamation this evening. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are renewable resources giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Peter Calamari, Mayor of the Township of Washington, do hereby proclaim April 30th, 2021 as Arbor Day, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote well-being of this and future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's a great proclamation.
Very nice.
Approval of minutes. January 20th, 2020, regular meeting, conference meeting. February 3rd, 2020, regular meeting, conference meeting. February 18th, 2020, regular meeting, conference meeting. March 2nd, 2020, regular meeting, conference meeting. May I have a motion to approve the minutes? Oh, I'm sorry, May 18th, 2020, regular meeting, conference meeting. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This evening, we are very privileged to have Robbie Connolly, architect, to go over a change order report that was included in the council's packet. Mr. Connolly, I am yielding the floor to you.
Good evening, everybody. How are you?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Connolly, do you want to turn on your camera or no? If there's a little button at the bottom that's, unless you don't have a camera.
I think, yeah. Hey, now you can see me?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, yeah, the mayor asked me, the mayor and Mr. Togo asked me to be here tonight to discuss the change order that I believe everybody has gotten a copy of. Basically, in a nutshell, when they started doing the retaining wall at the rear of the property, there was too much resistance for them to be able to drive the retaining wall the way that it was designed to be driven. They have spent about a week trying to drive it in different areas, digging down a couple of feet and trying to drive it, see if they could get past the top soil layer, see what the problem was. And after several days of trying this and not being able to do it, we were contacted. We contacted our structural engineer. We contacted the site engineer, which was Boswell, and we also contacted the geotechnical engineer who did the initial report. Everybody met out on the site to take a look at the conditions and see if we could come up with a solution to the problem. After some re-engineering and redesigning, we came up with a solution, and the solution was to dig down to the depth of half of where the piles would have originally been driven, and to pour concrete at the bottom to help to stabilize it, and then backfill on top of that. So that solution was arisen to, and due to the fact that we had that rear wall already partially, or that rear portion already partially dug up, and we had holes back there, we told the contractor to continue with the work and to keep track of the numbers, and we would go from there. To my surprise, at the end, we ended up getting a change order request from the contractor for close to $250,000. After going back and forth with the contractor, making him take out things that we felt were already in the contract, and cutting it down and explaining his numbers multiple times, we ended up with this number that ends up being $206,518.30. Basically, the short version, that is what this change order is, and that is why this change order has come to us. It is within the budget, the original budget that was given for the project, and the contingencies that were given. But this is an unforeseen condition. There's no way that anybody could have assumed that this was going to happen or seen that this was going to happen until the contractor got out there and started trying to drive the sheet piles into the ground.
Sir, may I ask a brief question? And I haven't talked to you previously, but this has nothing to do with the seepage pits that were found.
No, this one does
And
not
then
have
3.
This does not have anything to do with the seepage pits that were found. The seepage pits were actually in change order number 2, which was issued previously.
Thank you.
Mr. Conley, can you explain change orders 1 through 4? Because this is number 5. And we didn't know if there was any change orders on this project so far, other than
Okay.
the secret pits.
This is what you're looking at is the proposed change order, number 5. This is actually change order number 3. The previous change orders on the project was change order number 1 was to cut and dispose of 2 additional maple trees that were not shown on the site engineering plan to be removed, but were required to be removed once they started to do the construction out there. One, I believe, was on your property. I believe the other tree may have actually been on the neighbor's property. And that was change order number 1 for $1,320.49. Change order number 2 was for 2 separate items. One was when they were digging out there, they discovered a pipe. So they dug by hand down to that pipe, and that pipe was cracked. And it ended up that pipe was the sanitary sewer for the existing firehouse, which needed to stay in service until the end of the project, since the fire department is staying there until this construction is finished. So there was a repair cost of that of $1,486.47. The pipe was inspected to see if it was a crack that was created by the contractor or whether it was something that had been there for some time. And it appeared pretty obvious that the crack had been there for some time due to it not being a clean crack and also from the debris around the pipe at the time. So we had the contractor fix that so the sewer would continue in the existing firehouse until the project is done. And
Mr.
also,
Connolly?
Yes.
Sorry, yes, that's a waste pipe, that you're talking about?
Yes, that was
Okay.
the sanitary sewer pipe, the waste.
Okay, thank you.
And also on that change order, which Art mentioned earlier, there were 3 seepage tanks that were found on that property underground that we did not know were there. Those 3 tanks had to be removed, disposed of, and that area filled with structural fill and filled properly, 1-foot levels and then compacted properly. And the total for those 3 pits was $18,889.48, which brought change order number 2 to a total of $20,375.95. So they're the only 3 change orders that have been issued. Those 2 and this larger one for the retaining wall, they're the only 3 change orders that have been issued.
Okay, the retaining wall change order is labeled number 5 on the document we received, so that's all.
Okay, no, the official change order should say change order number 3.
The document we received says 5.
Mr. Connolly, would you mind just sending an email to the mayor, administration, and council, just saying that there was a mistake on the document and this is really change order number 3?
What Councilman DeSena is looking at is the contractor's change order. That is contractor's change order number 5. If you look at the AIA document, which we put together, that shows that it is the project's change order number 3.
Oh, I see. It was in the previous documents that were emailed to us, actually, Councilman DeSena.
Yeah. All right. Well, the numbers don't match, so somebody's got to fix them.
And I'd be more than happy to resend that out to.
My next question, Mr. Connolly, is
Thank you very much, Mr. Connolly. I appreciate it.
Who designed the wall and who stamped and sealed the wall?
The wall was originally designed by our structural engineer.
Okay. Did you do borings for the building?
There were borings done for the building. They were performed by, I believe, Mullick and Tully Associates.
And why didn't we do a boring for the wall of such a length?
The borings were done for the building and the wall.
Because according to what Lado is stating is that the original intent of the plans and specs, if soil borings had been taken along the sheeting wall during the initial design of the project, it would have been known prior to putting out the bids that a driven sheet pile wall would not have worked and an alternative wall system would have to be designed for this project. So did we do borings for this wall or did we not do borings for this wall?
We did borings on the property. We did borings at, I believe it was 4 different locations. All 4 of those locations were approximately the same. We could not access back all the way to the location of the wall itself to do borings at the time because of the property that was there. The machine was not going far.
Councilman DeSena, I'm just curious, are you looking at the Ratto construction sheet where it says that if they had been taken during the initial design of the project?
That is what I read, Mrs. Feeney.
Okay, so it just says that during the initial design of the project, it would have been known. It doesn't say that if they had done.
It says if the wall, that a driven sheet pile wall would not have worked and an alternative wall system would have been designed for this project. That is what Mr. Ratto is stating in his letter.
So it says the above charges are caused by the refusal encountered trying to install the sheet piling as per the original intent of the plans and specifications for the project. If the soil boring logs had been taken along the sheeting wall during the initial design of the project, it would have been known prior to putting the plans out to bid that a driven sheet pile would not have worked with and an alternative wall system would have been designed for this project. I'm just clarifying for everybody to know that that's
I read the same exact thing,
Bingo.
Mrs. Feeney.
Okay.
We read the
So,
same
Mr.
thing.
Connolly, could you please explain that in a more layman's terms so the public can understand?
According to the conversation that I had with the the company that did the soil borings, the geotechnical engineer, according to them, the soils that were found at the retaining wall were consistent with the soils that were found in the borings that were done elsewhere. And in the opinion of the engineer that designed it, and I believe also in the opinion of your site engineer, that the consistence of the soils in the borings appeared to be acceptable to be able to drive sheet pile. And we wouldn't have gotten anything different from the borings that were driven there than the borings that were driven elsewhere, because the soil is consistent between the entire property. So I beg to disagree with the contractor, Mr. Ratto, who is putting those statements out there in hopes of getting paid his full amount.
So what do we do in order to go back to Mr. Ratto and say that you disagree? How do we handle this going forward?
Mr. Ratto is a subcontractor of a subcontractor of the contractor. I don't really feel that there's anything to go back to Mr. Ratto. He is not a licensed engineer, and he is not a licensed design professional. It's his opinion what he's writing, but
Mr. Conley, did we do this on a time and material basis, this change order?
that was done, yes, on a time and material basis, pretty much.
Now, who monitored the time and material? Did we have somebody on site signing off on daily reports, or do we just use the contractors?
The site engineer was out there multiple times during it, but for the most part, we were using we did not have somebody out there. Let's just put it that way. We did not have somebody out there full time to observe the contractor doing this work.
Mr. Connolly, as you've stated, this gentleman is not a licensed engineer. So is there something that you can do when you're working with the person you're working with to find out what's going on here? I know that something to benefit the town.
What I can do is I can talk to the site engineer and to our structural engineer, and I will see if I can get something in writing from them that disputes what was said by, and the geotechnical engineer also, and get something that disputes Mr. Rado's comment.
Do you feel we have enough recourse to go back with that information, or you have to wait until you get the report from the site engineer?
What do you mean?
In order to, go and say that what you're saying that what he's saying is not accurate. He's not an engineer. So what we need to do is get something from the site engineer to give to Mr. Rado to dispute what he's saying here. Do you think that that will have some effect to these numbers for us?
No, it won't have any effect to the numbers. We've already gone through these numbers and gotten it down as much as we can. Basically, what happened was they had 1 week's worth of work in their budget to do this. The majority of this cost is labor. They had approximately 1 week's worth of labor in the contract to do the work. About half of that week was spent attempting to drive the piles the way that they were originally designed. Then we came back and we came up with a new way, which took a little over 2 weeks to actually install. So if you look at the numbers and you look at the amount of man hours and the labor, then that makes sense. That is why this change order is what it is. It was the time for the equipment to be out there and the amount of man hours that were required and the additional concrete. Originally, there was no concrete in the original design. It was just the sheet piles being driven down. The concrete is also included in this change order.
Thank you.
Mr. Conley, it says in the change order that it doesn't include their overhead and profit. Has that been negotiated out of the 250,000, or is that still a negotiation that's ongoing?
That was negotiated out of the 250,000.
So TechCon does not expect any overhead and profit on this 206,000, is what you're saying?
They do not expect anything beyond the 206,000.
Thank you. And what about the time extension that they're asking for?
The time that they're asking for, that's additional time, but because it's unforeseen conditions, underground conditions, we can give them the additional time, but there's no additional money. We've already went through back and forth with them with supervision money, and which is part of this change order, and we have accepted the on-site supervision for the additional 2 weeks, but we declined any in-office additional money for the project managers because that should be part of their overhead.
Well, what is Mr. Conley, I can't find the exact amount of time they're asking for in the change order. Do you know exactly how many days he's asking for?
14 days.
2 weeks.
14 days to 2 weeks.
Okay.
Is that 14 2 weeks or 14 business days?
It's 14 days, not business days.
Okay. Also, Mr. Connolly, I didn't know anything about Rado, and based on the change order, I was a little hesitant, so I made some phone calls to some colleagues I know in construction. I'm not in construction, but some people I've worked with in the past for other projects from a corporate perspective, and I know that Rado does about half of the pilings in New Jersey. Is that correct?
I do not know. They're a subcontractor of the contractor.
Okay. I did find that out, and that they are, they do about half of all the pilings in New Jersey. So.
Okay.
So, Mr. Conley, we're not looking at any extra maintenance bond costs or insurance costs that will be wrapped up in the time extension. We're clear on that.
No, everything that would be cost of this change is in this change order. There's no other change cost.
So these two change orders will deplete about 65% of our contingency fund. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So we're not out of the ground yet, and we're depleted 65. Do you anticipate we're going to need more money in the budget?
At this time, I do not anticipate that because all of these were unforeseen conditions underground. Once we get out of the ground, which we should be out of the ground within the next week or two, barring a big snowstorm on Thursday. And then from that point, I think we'll probably still have some minor change orders, but we have approximately $80,000 left in the project, and I think that will be adequate. Plus, with a redesign of a portion of the site, we are looking to get a substantial change order back. When I say substantial, I'm not talking about $100,000, but we're looking at a change order probably in the $40,000, $50,000 or more $1,000 range as a credit coming back to the project.
And what does that redesign consist of, Mr. Conley?
Basically, on the ambulance side of the building, we're extending the parking lot out about 5 more feet and removing the retaining wall that was there, which was a architectural block retaining wall. That retaining wall is being removed once we extend that parking lot out an additional 5 feet, and the 5 foot of paving, we no longer need that retaining wall, according to Boswell Engineering, who's your site engineer.
Mr. Connolly, I have one question. Is there going to be additional time needed because of the steel issues that are currently going on? I know there's long lead times in regards to steel.
There should not be. There's only a minimal amount of steel on this project. Most of the steel has already been ordered, and it's things like lintels. There is only one steel beam and a couple steel columns on the project, so that should not be a delay. But I do expect some additional delays because of the weather. And in fact, I received a letter today, and we did have a project meeting today. I was up there. I received a letter from the contractor today requesting an additional approximately 2 weeks due to the storms that they've had. And I advised him to just keep a running track and keep notifying us of the days that he can't work. And then at the end of the winter, we will take a look at that. We will adjust that because they have to build a certain amount of weather downtime into their contract anyway. So we will take a look at that towards the end of the winter, probably in April. And at that time, we will look at a $0 change order for an extension of time, but there will not be any additional cost to that extension of time.
Mr. Connolly, then I will add you to the first or second week of April's meeting so that you can bring us back and you can bring us up to date on that if that's good for you.
Yeah, I will be in touch with either the mayor or the clerk and let them know when after.
Okay.
There's going to be some negotiation going
Perfect.
on the time, so I'm not sure April will be complete.
In May. And then we'll be happy to see you in May. Yes.
Mr. Conley, can you just review the dates that this work occurred on, this extra work occurred on?
Looking through my paperwork here. It looks like on the 18th of November is when they notified me they were having issues. So it was prior to that. I'm not sure what day the 8th of November was, or the 18th of November.
That's fine. So it was last year that this work occurred, that we knew we had a change order last year. Thank you.
Yes. Well, as the work occurred, the work did happen last year, but we did not get the change order cost from the contractor until
December 24th. He gave himself a nice $200,000 Christmas.
yes. So December 20. Well, actually, he was looking for a $250,000 Christmas, and we made sure that we got it down as much as we possibly could.
But we knew about this change order in 2020 is what I'm asking.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or?
Is this change order fully finalized now, Mr. Conley, or are we still negotiating it?
It is fully finalized. I feel that I've gotten it down as low as I can possibly get it at this point. Everything in there I feel is justified. The additional costs I feel are justified. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Conley.
Stacy, if I can just jump in for a moment.
Of course.
Yeah, I asked Mr. Conley to join us here because of the size of the change order, and I appreciate you coming, Rob. So to just recap, to the taxpayers, I want them to know that this is still within the budgeted amount for the project, and yes, it has added delays between that and weather, but I don't think it's anything, significant delays that, we could have done anything about. So for the taxpayer, I just want to boil it down to those few things.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do any other council members want to say anything? Councilman Casio, any comments?
Yeah, when we went ahead with the project, we had the contingency in there of a hefty sum, and I believe when we bonded it, we said the contingency money would be there for, in the end, for furnishing the facility. So apparently, that's gonna eat into that extras at this point. So I'm a little disappointed, to be quite honest with you. having a first overrun of a quarter of a million, almost a quarter of a million, could have potentially been $250,000 is a little disheartening to me. And I guess I'm a little disheartened that the oversight wasn't there. But other than that, these things happen, and we'll just have to go from there, I guess.
On the furniture, Steve, I'm happy to say that the fire department got a donation of practically new furniture that is sitting in storage right now. So that's why we took that off, because they got a donation of almost like new furniture.
No, that's great.
Okay, that's good. That's good to hear. But again, that's what the money was designated for, to outfit the facility with what they needed to make them comfortable. And I'm just kind of, I guess, disheartened that it's going to not be used for that. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah. Unfortunately, things that are underground and that are not able to be seen are things that unfortunately you run into on projects, like this.
Well, let me jump in, if I may, at this point for just a moment and say that on every project I've ever been involved in, there are always unforeseen and contingency items that rear their ugly heads and steal the money out of our collective pockets. I think that it's been lowered from $250,000 to almost 210, less than 210 even. And that was a very good job by them, by Mr. Connolly and his efforts. And if you're not familiar with this process, there's a whole network worth of shows on HGTV that shows nothing but people finding, oh, I bought this house and oh my God, it has termites and the piping and the knob and tube. And so we've run into our own unforeseen situation. And I think it's been handled extremely well. Thank you, Mr. Connolly.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Morgan.
So, thank you, Mr. Conley, for negotiating that down. And I echo what Mr. Cummings said, Councilman Cummings said, about anyone who has renovated or did any kind of construction on their home absolutely understands that that's what contingencies are for, unforeseen things that pop up. So it is a tough nut to swallow as far as the amount that it is, but in the grand scheme of things, this project, we knew we were going to have some unforeseen stuff. So I appreciate you explaining it and taking the time tonight to really make the taxpayers, myself included, understand that it was within the budget we have already, not 200,000 over. So that was, sorry, I heard someone's dog.
My dog's going too.
Very secure.
So I'll keep it short.
Taxpayers too.
Sorry about that. So thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry. Mr. Tovo or Mr. Power is giggling, yes. Mr. Power, you're on mute if you have anything to say. No, okay. Mr. Tovo, any comments?
Bob?
Is he there?
Bob, are you there still? Hello?
Yeah, I'm on the line. Can you hear me?
Yes. Do you have any other comments you'd like to add on to this discussion?
No, I think Mr. Connolly did an excellent job negotiating that number downward. And, although he's not here every day, he and his associate keep a very close eye on the work done for the contractor. We had a very productive meeting today. I think going forward, there are some options we can consider for cutting down the delays at the end of the project. So still going in the right direction here. And as Mr. Connolly pointed out, I mean, everything underground was unforeseen. We ran into a number of different things we could have never done so.
And if I may, one thing I just want to make sure that the public realizes is that by law on a contract like this, you're allowed by law to have up to a 20% of change orders, which on this project would be of the 20% of the contract size. So on this project, that would be well over $1 million worth of change orders. And at this point, we're, still well below 300,000 in change orders. We don't expect to get anywhere near that 20% that's allowable by law. And in fact, we expect to be able to stay under this budgeted number that we originally said. So I think the taxpayers just want to know that. And the average of a construction project of this size is approximately 10% to 15% change orders. So we're still well below that percentage.
But
Those
Mr.
are good
Connolly,
metrics to have, Mr. Connolly. Thank you very much for clarifying that.
Mr. Connolly,
Especially since we had a 300,000 contingency built into the plan with the 10 to 15%. Hopefully, we won't be going over that, which everybody's got their fingers crossed. But that definitely makes sense from what you're saying.
But Mr. Connolly, just to clarify your statement, right now the project is only funded for $6.3 million, whatever the exact amount is. So if we do need 20% in cost overruns, we do not have that money funded right now, correct?
That is correct. That is
okay,
correct.
I just want to clarify that.
Yep, that is why we're, that $300,000 is the number, and that's actually a little bit under what the actual contingency left on the project is, and that's why we're trying to keep under that $300,000 total.
Thank you.
Right, but the numbers you're providing are just metrics that you know from your business, correct?
Correct. They're the averages throughout the state. Our goal is to keep it at 5% or below, and that's where we intend to try to keep this project.
I was just curious. I just had one more question. Since the new borings will now be added to the site plan, correct? They will be on the site plan going forward.
The new
work that had to be done in order to make the wall, the sheathing.
Yes,
sorry.
Wall. Yes, that is on the site plan. That has been added on there. And in fact, we've already also sent to the construction code office the revised design, the certified revised design, and everything has already gone to the construction code office.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. Then I think we can move on. And thank you for this time.
Yes, thank you, Rob.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. And
Thank you, Mr. Connolly.
On the way home. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. We're moving on to the report of the mayor. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. Temporary DPW locations. I continue to work with the department to look at options. One looks promising. More info to come at the next meeting. Some residents were unclear from our last meeting regarding the status of Sherry Field and the property behind the doghouse to put DPW equipment. Individual members of the council asked me to explore town-owned properties, and in the spirit of cooperation, I did. I am glad that the residents spoke out against using those locations. So let me clearly say that neither of those locations will be used for DPW buildings or vehicles. Leaves. The department and I are also looking at the costs associated with bringing the leaves directly out of town without using Sherry Field as a staging area. The costs come down to equipment and manpower. I will recommend and put both costs in the 2021 budget for council approval. I hope you all have noticed the new solar-powered speed warning signs that have been installed at strategic locations throughout the township. The traffic office within the department decided where to place them. As much as everyone would like one on their street, we do not want the town to be cluttered with them. The police will continue to monitor for additional locations in the future. The property acquisitions for the intersection project continue to move forward. You should see PSE&G at the location soon to move the poles necessary for the project. The property at 450 Pascack Road is an important focus for us. The matter was discussed in closed session last meeting, and a plan is in the process of development and implementation. The first step of that plan has been the ordering of a formal appraisal of the property. You should see a charge for that on tonight's bill list. You should also be aware that the property is zoned for single-family use only, and the township recently received a judgment of compliance and repose from the Superior Court in connection with its COA affordable housing litigation. Our commitment to the master plan and protection of open space in the township will continue to be in our planning. It gives me pleasure to announce that Township President Dan Scuderi has accepted and started the position of rec coordinator. Based on the response on Facebook when it was announced there, I know Dan already has a lot of support for the position. He will also continue to be the director of the DPW. The town calendar was delivered to the post office on January 29th. A great deal of work goes into it, and it contains a wealth of information. In addition to using it, please check the town website and Facebook pages regularly for up-to-date information. I've had multiple meetings with the employees in the building and planning and zoning departments to review the flow of residents' applications from start to finish. We now have 2 engineering firms servicing the town residents, Azalina and Theory for the planning and zoning boards, and Boswell for the construction department. In reviewing the process, I will be requesting a nominal additional amount of money in the 2021 budget to assist in getting the applications through the system quicker. The 2021 budget is almost ready to present to the council. We hope it will be by the end of this week, but if not, it will be by the extension date of February 26th, and it is on the conference agenda. I would like to follow up with the council on one thing at that time. I had the pleasure of attending the Greater Pascack Valley Chamber Breakfast with the Mayor's meeting on January 27th, albeit virtually. It is a good opportunity for the citizens of the Pascack Valley to hear directly from the mayors of the surrounding towns about what is going on in their respective communities. I provided a subset of information that I gave at our council meeting of January 4th, looking back at 2020 and looking forward into 2021. Some of the topics that were collectively discussed were local business status during and after COVID, increased traffic due to fair share housing obligations affecting all of our towns, vaccine availability and distribution, both which continue to be a challenge, additional impact that fair share housing puts on our volunteer ambulance and fire departments, municipal tax collections during COVID. I'm happy to report most of our towns are doing well in this area, and also repurposing of large office complexes. We can all be happy that the township does not have that issue to deal with. Thank you. That ends my report for tonight. You're on mute.
Thank you. Sorry, I was trying to be considerate and be on mute while you were speaking.
No worries.
Next is the report of council. I'm going to go first as council president. Second. Mine's a little more than I usually say this evening, so. Back in 2019, the reason I decided to run for Township Council was to be involved in the town I grew up in. I met with the current mayor and council members, and in many discussions, we all had the same goals. We want to see the township moving forward and make it one of the best places to live in Bergen County. The mayor said he thought I would be a good addition along with the other council members I had met, having a finance background as being a proven collaborative member of several large corporations in New Jersey. So I decided to run with Desiree Morgan and could not have been more ecstatic to have learned we were elected to serve our community. I even remember doing a little dance in the front seat of my car with her after we left town hall with the results of the election. Being elected council president was such an honor and a very new experience. To improve council meetings, moving to a comment portion of the meeting made sense to be more productive and to build relationships with the residents who were speaking during this time. Meetings are much smoother and less confrontational. Our school board currently follows this format along with neighboring communities such as Westwood. When conference agenda items are requested by the clerk, it is always stated in the email, please provide agenda items with backup or documentation. This is to ensure conference agenda items have information to submit to the council so everyone can be prepared for the meetings. Agenda items submitted for conference agenda should not be political rants against the mayor and administration. The agenda points are designed to get results. It's important they cover relevant council business. And while politics are important, especially at this time, since it's an election year, it's vital the agenda is not used as a venue for political debate. The goal of the council meeting is to conduct business to move the town forward. Social media should not devolve into a platform for personal attacks on female town council president or any council members. I am fulfilling my role by doing my job as council president, the same as previously elected male presidents have done. As council president, I am slated with following the agenda, running the meetings professionally, and encouraging all parties who are participating to be prepared and to provide the necessary information so all parties participating are prepared. In summary, I would like to thank everybody for their patience while working with Ninja, but it is working well, so thank you for working together. Also, the feature of the public calling in will be available, as I previously said, for the next meeting, which should be our first budget meeting. Thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to future productive council meetings. Vice President Morgan?
Thank you, Councilwoman Keeney. I just want to say you're doing a fantastic job. Okay. And I actually think we all are. This is unprecedented times, and if I hear that word one more time, I'm going to throw up. So let me not say that word again. But this is times that we really had to kind of navigate, the water. We've never done this before. So, whether you were on board with Ninja, not on board with Ninja, everything is trial and error because we've never been here before. So I think we've done a pretty decent job as far as I'm concerned, and as far as the feedback I'm getting from town residents. There's opportunities for improvement in the best of circumstances. I think we did a pretty decent job. But
thank you very much for your support also.
You're welcome. I do want to just real quick discuss mental health because that is near and dear to my heart. I've dedicated my entire career for the last 20 years to mental health. So I don't know if anybody has checked it out, but it may behoove you to just at least make yourself familiar, my fellow council people as well. Make yourself familiar so that you can be a resource to others for the Stigma-Free page. Judy Beckmeyer really worked hard on the Stigma-Free page and organizing it in a way that it truly is a resource and super user-friendly. So obviously, there's still a stigma attached to mental health, which hopefully before my time on this earth is done, that will be no longer. There will not be a stigma because it's a disease like anything else, like cancer, like diabetes. But now that we've added so much, I guess, what do I want to say? So much more stress from COVID, so much more worry, sleepless nights, those we love getting sick. Although there is a beacon of sun coming through, hospital admissions are going down, ventilator use is going down. I can tell you personally from working every day in the hospital, we are seeing less and less numbers every day. So there really, truly is a light at the end of the tunnel. Let me just say that. But the damage has been done over the last year. So a lot of people who may not have ever thought they need mental health or a family member, they may recognize some changes and they're not sure if it warrants, going and getting a checkup. If you look on our town website and you go under our Stigma-Free link, it is set up so beautifully, and I have to give her full credit. Judy really did a great job. There's a link there that takes you through a hotline to call for information, and they have telehealth services, so you don't even have to leave your home. You can just talk to somebody, a licensed professional, who can really tell you if you're in a crisis right now or if it's something that you can manage. They kind of give you some step-by-step, and it's all linked. So it's super user-friendly, even if you're not familiar with how to use the internet. They have intake for addiction. There's a lot more drinking over the last year, a lot more substance abuse issues happening, people having a hard time falling asleep, so they take a medication, and then eventually it becomes more of an addiction. Something as simple as a telehealth visit where they can see you through the screen may be beneficial. Some of these things we don't know, but they're at your fingertips. It's so accessible to us right now. So just keep that, in the forefront of your mind, that make yourself familiar with what we have on the website, because there's really a lot of information on there for mental health. Dan Scuderi, I am 100% looking forward to working with him as the rec coordinator. I'm excited to work with him on the rec board. There's a lot of opportunities for growth for our recreation programs across the whole span, all of them. So I'm hoping 2021 presents itself where we can actually get to work and expand the rec program for seniors, for everybody. And then one thing I want to mention that really impressed me was about, I don't know how many of you guys saw it, but many people who are listening or watching were probably there. There was a parent protest in front of the high school about 2 weeks ago, maybe a week and a half ago. And we were protesting or pushing support to get the schools back in session, in school. And I gotta say that I share in their frustration. My children are not thriving with virtual learning. A lot of children aren't. So I agree, we need to get back in school. We need some normalcy in their life, and the kids could do better in an environment conducive for learning. So I'm hoping that maybe we can get some more answers as to what that looks like for 2021, because especially the little kids, they're not going to learn how to read on a screen. They really need that instruction. So just some food for thought. And of course, anyone with an IEP is going to struggle as well virtually. So maybe we can set up some kind of meeting or have Mr. Gonzalez on the forum so he can speak to the town, because a lot of people are asking when that's going to happen. That's all. That's all I have.
You're muted, Stacy.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Vice President Morgan. Councilman Cassia?
Yes, I've never heard from a council president something piled on so thick and so heavy in my life. Your comments are actually disgusting to me as someone who's been on the council for almost 10 years. The hypocrisy that you spread is unbelievable. And the people see through it. And you talk about honesty, integrity, fairness. It's not there. So I'm embarrassed for you, and I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilman Cassia. Councilman Cummings?
Good evening. I was very impressed by everyone's comments so far. The mayor did a very thorough job so that I have less, and I'm going to try for Blarney reduction since we're coming up on St. Patty's Day, so that we can get through with this and get home tonight sometime. Although it's a short drive now. In the interest of brevity, I'm not going to report very much. We are waiting for the energy management equipment. I have called them once every week to find out. Apparently, it's in one of those containers that they reported about on 60 Minutes, where the Christmas ornaments that should have come in November from China came in January, which is about our situation, unfortunately. We just don't have the hardware, but we're contractors ready and raring to go. We will also should have a spreadsheet from our accounting people about all the accounts of public service so that we know how much money we save. Please stay well, stay active, be well, keep a positive attitude, and I think everybody's doing a wonderful job in their own way. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Cummins. Councilman DeSena?
Thank you, Council President Feeney. I just want to say welcome to Mr. Scuderi. He's a huge asset. I've been giving him lots of praise as our DPW DMF superintendent or liaison, whatever his true title is. He's doing a great job, and I hope he'll continue to do that. Another thing I wanted to just, a couple other things I have is that the Hillsdale Mayor Rucco and Councilwoman Trochenak, I hope I'm not butchering her name too bad, had asked the mayor and Mr. Tovo to reach out to them because they'd like to explore some shared services for our DPW to utilize Hillsdale. So, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Tovo, if you could reach out to Mayor Rucco and Councilwoman Trochenak, I'd appreciate it. I didn't want to, go against our Faulkner form of government and enter into any conversations with them. I told them I would bring it up at this meeting for you guys to pass along and reach out to them. Another thing I wanted to talk about is I wanted to thank Mrs. Beckmeyer for everything she's done for the website. I did review it, Mrs. Morgan. It is phenomenal. Suicides for our young children because they're not in school are at an alarming rate, and it's disturbing to think that a lot of school districts, thank God ours in Westwood is in a hybrid mode. A lot of districts have not touched foot in school since last March, over a year ago. And it's alarming the rate of, and especially like you said, Mrs. Morgan, IEPs, they're not being, they're doing nothing with them. So it's a shame that this is going on still. Another thing I wanted to talk about is Mrs. Feeney. I politely disagree. I disagree to agree. I believe that we should continue discussions with our residents. The discussions lead to more questions, which lead to more answers. And that's why I don't like the question form and getting back to residents, because I think when we ask questions and we enter into dialogue with our residents, other things come up, other ideas come up, and we're stymieing that in our new form. And that's my comment on that. Another thing I wanted to talk about is snow removal. The DMF, DPW did a phenomenal job as much as they could. But a lot of roadways remain one lane, especially the main arteries of our town at Washington and Pascack. A lot of the intersections where they had to plow the snow. It's been almost 2 weeks since the storm's been over. I would have thought that the town would have sent the crews out to, remove the snow at these corners and at these intersections to open the road up and get, some more flow going through these areas and make it safer. You're kind of at a standoff on most of the side streets. You have to pull into somebody's apron to let somebody come by you on most, except for Colonial, which is plowed wider. But the rest of the streets, and a lot of, we've gotten 2 complaints from residents. I've received a lot of complaints of not shoveled sidewalks. Our property maintenance officer, I'd like to know, Mr. Tovo, for the next meeting, how many summonses were given during the storm? Because today, one of the residents gave us exact locations, and all those locations still are not shoveled. It creates a hazard for our community. These are condo associations. They're residents. They're businesses. If I have to go out and shovel my sidewalk, so does everybody else. And once one person doesn't do it, then nobody else does it. And that's the mentality that you get from that. So I think we really need to review that. I'd really like a report, Mr. Tovo, how many summonses our either police department or property maintenance officer has given us on not shoveled sidewalks. I have pictures of all of them, Mr. Tovo, if you need them. It is now, February 16th. The storm happened on February 2nd, so exactly 2 weeks. So I'd like to find out more on that. That's all I have for tonight, Mrs. Feeney.
Thank you very much, Councilman Casio.
DeSena.
Sorry, DeSena. I'm sorry. I was looking at my notes. Then, Mr. Tovo, do you have anything to say, or Mr. Poller? No, Mr. Tovo?
Bob, you start this?
We received one complaint regarding an unmaintained sidewalk. The code enforcement officer went out the following day, and the sidewalk had been cleaned in the interim period. I would urge any council member that's aware of others, please don't wait to tell us.
They were documented yesterday in a letter, in an email we received. The entire council received it. Those sidewalks are still not shoveled as of 4:00 today when I drove past.
The zoning officer reached out to the complainant on that and asked for a specific address, because when you check that neighborhood, all the sidewalks had been done by the following day.
I will.
Okay,
I will.
thank you very much, Mr. Tovo. If you could have them recheck again that area, I think that would satisfy the request.
Yeah, and
President Feeney,
Like I
may I
said,
make
if you
a,
have any addresses, line
Excuse
to me, and I'll pass them along.
Okay, great, thank you. If you could get Mr. Tovo that information, I think that would help to move that along.
and just
President Feeney, may I
just-
make a mini comment, if I may?
Sure, go ahead, Councilman comments.
I walked a lot of icy cold sidewalks because of all the people that took the commuter buses to New York and had to catch them on the River Road and Fairlawn Avenue and such. And there were always sidewalks that were unenforced. It was my personal practice, which has not been followed. That doesn't matter. But you can write a ticket a day. Now, enforcement does not mean that there's going to be compliance. You know, you keep writing tickets until you get compliance. And that's what has to be done. You can write a ticket a day and you can write tickets for 5 days and they'll get them, and sometimes they'll ignore them. Or sometimes they're away, or sometimes there's a death. There may be good excuses, there may not be good excuses, but enforcement does not mean compliance. We don't know that tickets weren't written to all these addresses. That's all.
That's what I asked for, Mr.
Okay,
Cummings.
thank you. Thank you very much, Councilman Cummings. I appreciate it. Mr. Mayor, you were going to say something next?
yes, thank you. Yeah, to everyone within the sound of my voice, it's great that, you send emails to the council. However, please send them to myself and Mr. Tovo, because we can't guarantee that we're going to get things from the council, vice versa. So please include us, because the one that we got, as Bob said, we sent someone out immediately to research it. But we can't research what we don't know. So please just copy myself and copy the administrator on any things like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just have one additional comment. I want to say to all the public members out there that any one of the council members is reachable by email, by cell phone. I myself have spoken this week alone to at least 5 residents regarding concerns, and I always have an open line of communication. Please reach out anytime. Thank you. Moving on to general public comment. Limit is 5 minutes. To participate in the general public comment portion of the meeting, please dial in on 201-664-4659. You will be asked to state your name and address for the record, and we ask that only one person speak at a time. There is a 5-minute limit per caller. Please note that this is public comment, and comments by the council, mayor, or administrator will be at the end of the public comment section. At the end, no more calls will be accepted. Motion to open the public comment. May I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sue, please, thank you.
Hello, is there anyone there for public comment?
Yes,
Please state your name and address for the record.
Mike Werfel, 80 Crest Place.
Good evening, Mr. Wolfel. How are you?
Good, good. I was just curious, during the reorg meeting, the mayor said the fire department building is moving ahead on budget and on schedule. And I'm curious as to how that was possible with such a large spending. I would have felt that if we're trying to be transparent, that we would have that information as soon as possible, rather than try and obfuscate the truth by making it seem as if something is moving in the right direction. Right now, we've used 72.5% of our contingency, and we haven't even poured the foundation. So it's a little concerning to be able to look going forward as to what we might be able to do or what we might not be able to do without increasing the budget. I know we can't have a dialogue for strange reasons I don't understand, but I would hope that in the future you would give some consideration to having a dialogue versus a monologue, as it does, as Mr. DeSena said, create a better feeling from the public, and you don't have to wait until the next meeting in order to speak. Just as a side comment, please seriously consider using Zoom. We pay for it, and having run plenty of meetings with that, it runs vastly superior to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ruffle. Have a good evening. Anyone else on the line?
Yes, Michael Lemkin, 723 Amherst Drive.
Yes, Mr. Lumpkin. What can we do for you this evening? How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. Wanted to talk about the firehouse, but based on what I heard, I guess I'm really more talking to Councilman DeSena, since he seems pretty well versed in construction. I didn't quite hear everything that was said. My daughter was running around, but a couple things stuck out to me. Was change order 1 due to removal of trees that were not shown on the plans to be removed? Because that sounds like errors and omissions. Same thing with the waste pipe. I feel like the waste pipe leaving the building should have been on the plans or on previous as-built for the building. And then I'm a little confused of if it was cracked or potentially cracked a long time ago, why it needed to be temporarily repaired. Was this pipe being used for the new building, or is this just being repaired for a couple months? If it functioned cracked for many years, I feel like it could have functioned cracked further, a couple months. And the same thing with the seepage pits. Wouldn't the town have a record of that being installed, and shouldn't have that been known to be put on the plans? I agree that when you do construction, you never know what's underground, so you do have unforeseen conditions. But when you're doing something like sheeting, if you had proper boring logs, I would see an unforeseen condition as an obstruction, like a boulder or an old concrete staircase or something of that sort. But to have boring logs that state the condition of the soil, if done properly, and then using the proper equipment and sheeting, I feel like the wall should have went in. But with the change order, I think the cost was a little over $200,000. But is there a credit back? I didn't quite hear what the architect said. They poured concrete, but if sheeting wasn't installed or a reduction of the height of sheeting, I hope the town would get a credit back for that unused material. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lumpkin. Have a good evening. Is there anyone else on the line?
Yes, good evening. This is Mike Proto, 450 Ridgewood Boulevard East. I'm sorry, 850 Boulevard East.
Good evening.
I was calling it about, of course. I hope everybody's doing well this evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I appreciate your diligence, obviously, with respect to 450. And I did have a follow-up question with regard to the appraisal. If the appraisal takes into consideration building constraints with respect to the property based on existing residential code and zoning requirements, and doesn't just take into account the acreage?
Mr. Priddle, we'll get back to you most likely at the end of the meeting, at the end of the public comment portion on that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good evening, Mr. Priddle. Is there anyone else on the line?
Yes, hello.
Yes, good evening. May I ask who's calling?
This is Michael Ullman, 2 Clark Avenue.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Ullman. What can we do for you? How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I had just a couple of questions. There's a resolution 21-149 where the township is issuing a refund to retirees who are on the dental plan. I guess my understanding was that there was, or at least when I was on the council, there was one individual on the plan, and there were going to be no further additions to the plan. And I was wondering, has the township changed its approach to retirees offering benefits or the access to benefits? So that's the first question. The second question, 21-153, is a transfer. We're requesting a 30K transfer to electricity. And I guess my question is, I thought that we have done quite a bit of work improving the efficiency of these buildings. And I guess I'm just at a loss as to how we underplanned by $30,000 for the town hall electricity. Was there something unforeseen in terms of electric expenses?
that we were not aware of. Regarding a list of bills, there is the first item on the list of bills is a payment that is being made to Cefelli and Sons regarding the 2017 police station drainage, the amount of $6,142. Trying to understand what that payment is for. I happened to, when I saw this, I happened to take a drive up to Town Hall, and for, I guess, 3+ years, the lighting that goes along the entrance to Town Hall, so if you're on the walkway into Town Hall, between the walkway and the back of the police department, there are 3 lights. All 3 of them were out. When I gently nudged one of them, it did turn on. One is in disrepair, and this was raised over 3 years ago. It's been on a tracker. It's been off a tracker. I would think that town paid for that to be put back in a working order. The fact that it's not, I don't understand why we're making a payment to a vendor if the work hasn't been completed. So I'd like to understand about that. I would also like to understand if the township plans to place a lien on 988 Adams Place. This was questioned at a council meeting on 12/21. Administrator Tovo indicated that the township did not remove trees from private property, that it was likely the nearest address, and that trees may have fallen in our road. These are just false statements. They're completely made up. They are not in response to the question, and they are not in response, and they are non-responsive to the actual situation. I was made aware of an emergent issue. I opened it, and it seems that there's been a lot of work done there, and I just don't understand why the administrator and the mayor, who signed off on requisitions and purchase orders, removal of trees would allow that to be stated. And where is the lien certificate that the code enforcement officer should be preparing? Why hasn't it been presented to the council? And why hasn't the resolution been passed? So at this point, the township has paid $4,200 to remove trees from a resident's property, and we have no recourse. And I'd like to understand where we are in that process, because clearly the administrator was not aware of the process based on his response a month ago, and I'd like to understand if anything has progressed since then. Lastly, regarding Mr. Conley's update, I think some members of the council and some members of the administration are giving him a complete pass. I understood this. We have an architect, we have a structural engineer, we have a geotechnical engineer, and we have a site engineer. We have
Mr. Ullman, you have 30 seconds.
Whose responsibility is for this project, and they were unable to determine and assess that there was a condition in the soil, and that requires a $210,000 change order. Additionally, Mr. DeSena referenced a memo, and
I'm sorry,
it said
Mr.
that
Ullman,
boring could not take place because
I'm sorry, Mr. Ullman, your time's up.
And if
Mr. Ullman, I'm sorry, your time.
was in the way.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ullman, it's 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time this evening, and I look forward to hearing responses to all those questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ullman. Have a good evening. Is there anyone else on the line?
Is there anyone else there?
Yes, hi. Joseph Scalia, 813 Ridgewood Boulevard East.
Good evening, Mr. Scalia. What can we do for you? How are you?
Good evening. First of all, I want to thank the council and mayor for your update on 450 Pascack. I think a lot of people are still wondering the timing for this with the assessment, and we are also concerned that there will be additional litigation from the builder, but we are very here to support you, both the mayor and council. So we look forward to continuous updates around 450 and the assessment process and the timing of that process. Along with that, the question about rental properties in town is something that is getting a lot of publicity around individuals concerned about the town getting more and more rental properties. Several months ago, I asked the mayor to look into an ordinance or a restriction in the number of rental properties. Number of rental properties in the town. So we look at an update also of the number of rental properties we do anticipate be around the town. The third aspect is overdevelopment is a major issue in town, and the mayor one-on-one does a very nice job when you speak to him about his plans around the town. I would recommend that the council and the mayor potentially have a dedicated session about the vision for our township, specifically around the developments that are happening across our town. So the township can really understand what the vision is for our town, what the mayor really feels about how development will happen, and also the council members. We have several council members that have a lot of experience around building, and I really want to hear their input. And consistently, those individuals are being cut off during these sessions, and we really can't hear their expertise. And others have expertise in different areas, and I do enjoy Mr. Cummings speaking about electricity and the trees and all those different aspects. And I want to hear each council member have their time to talk about their expertise. And Ms. Feeney, I totally agree that bullying should not be happening on social media. And you guys are doing the best you can. But I think the more transparency we could have, especially around the overdevelopment in town, that will help us, for our community and our children, better understand the vision for us that plan on being here for the next 20 to 30 years.
Yes,
so once again, I want to thank you for the update around 450. The timing is something that we would like to understand more of. And we, as residents, would also like to help in any way possible through this process. So please do not hesitate to reach out to us for additional support and assistance as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scalia. Have a good evening. Is there anyone else on the line?
Hello, is there anyone there? Anyone else to make any comments? I don't think so, Council President.
Okay. Motion to close public comment portion of the meeting. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Susan, okay, thank you.
There we go.
Okay, there was two follow-up items from a couple weeks ago. One was the gentleman asked if the mayor and I had scheduled a meeting with our superintendent of schools. I did reach out and request for a meeting. I'm not sure if the mayor did, but I did not get a response from our superintendent, so we will be reaching out again. The other item was regarding the report of the fees that the enforcement officer, Mr. Tovo, are you going to put that report together for the council to get once a month, or?
Yes, I will. You'll have a report for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. I know that was a follow-up item from the previous meeting. This evening, I'm going to start with the mayor and the administration. Do you have there were a lot of comments around the construction for the firehouse. Since your point on those projects, I feel it's only appropriate that you comment on those first.
Yes, I'll be happy to for what I can. The first comment, as I said earlier, the project is still on budget. That's why contingencies are built in. So it is on budget. And at the time I gave that update, it was still on schedule. And, I really don't consider a week or two change to be off schedule. I consider something longer than a month to be off schedule, but not a week or two. Regarding the sewer line, I'm only guessing, but that building goes back to the 50s. I'm going to guess that, there was no schematic that told us that the sewer line was running there. And so I'm going to say they had no way of knowing about it until they found it by mistake. I believe Mr. Conley did say that we were getting credit for the material and the work on the original solution that, when they saw that couldn't work, they credited it back in also. As far as the appraisal of 450, I can't comment, not being an appraiser. I don't know what goes into that process. Let's see. Just to repeat, it's still on budget. So, that's why we build contingencies in. There is no project this size that is not done with contingencies. To think you can do that, is just not reasonable. You have to have contingencies, especially for underground things where, it's not visible to the naked eye, or even what the geo people do. It's not foolproof. Regarding 450, yes, it's active. I regret that we can only talk about it in closed right now, but we do talk about it just about every meeting. I'm sorry that, I can't give more of an update than that, other than to say, it's on my mind, and I believe most, if not all, of the council members' mind. So we are moving that forward, but because it has to do with negotiation, we cannot comment too much on it publicly. I am in favor of open space. I would look to acquire any open space that comes available in the township, because I think that, as was said, we owe it to our future generations to make sure that we do have enough open space in town. It's a precious commodity that you cannot reclaim once it's gone. So I would be in favor of any open space that we can acquire. Last thing is regarding the school superintendent. I did not reach out. I made a note to do so. However, I would like to remind the residents that just like we have council meetings, they have school board meetings. You should bring your concerns to them also, because as we hear your voices on many different topics, it makes a difference. I'm happy to meet with them, but I think if you call in, being the parents and taxpayers, to their meetings, it will mean a lot more coming from you directly. That finishes my answers to the questions that I have answers for at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Tova, I was wondering if you had any comments on for 988 Adams Place. If you have any more information regarding that, or would you like to be able to submit the information for the next council meeting?
No, I do have information on a couple of items. If you want to start with 988, I will. Our code enforcement officer did send the bill to the lien holder on the property. This is a distressed property that we've had ongoing issues with. It is true that my initial comment was incorrect. It's very rare that we remove trees from private property, but this tree was deemed to be a hazard to an adjoining property. So the decision was made to take it down. We subsequently sent the bill to the lien holder, and they have already paid in full for that tree removal. So there's no need to go as far as imposing a lien on the property.
Okay. Any other items, Mr. Tova?
Yes, ma'am. Retirees on the Delta Dental plan, it has been discussed whether or not that was going to be continued, but the decision to stop it was never made. So the retirees are still eligible for it, and the reason it was a refund is because there was a reduction in the Delta premium due to COVID.
Mr. Tova, are you saying?
Ms. Councilman DeSanto, you'll have a chance to ask your question. Thank you.
Hold on a second. Bob, you're going to have to repeat yourself, please.
I know. Bob, can you start over again, please? Sorry.
You said the refund due to
Our
COVID.
billing for PSE&G has been inconsistent throughout COVID, and we received this large bill after the close of 2020, not the close of the budget, after December 31st. So what we're seeing here is that we're paying for the upgrades that we installed in the various buildings, but we're not seeing a real reduction in the actual cost of the utility as we hoped we would. We're hoping that the building management or control system corrects that issue for us. Until that's in place, I don't think we have a full picture of where our potential savings are going to be. That said, in the 2021 budget, more money has been added to that line to ensure that we don't have the shortage there again. Again, with any luck, we'll see the savings based on Mr. Cummings' efforts. The Dovey payment is retainage on that project. That project was titled long before I came to the township. In the spec, there's actually no lighting included in the spec. It was all drainage and waterproof. All that work has been done, and the retainage was paid out.
And that's for the CFSL for the 2017 police station, the first line in the bill list, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Similar items to Mr. DeSantis' question regarding Hillsdale. It's correct. I did reach out to us regarding shared services. I did hear from the administrator, but the request was simply for the services of the CFO. Our CFO was not interested because he has restrictions on how much money he can make due to his PERS guidelines. So
No, this was
no opportunity for us to pursue.
This was for DPW, Mr. Tovo. They reached out, and I told them that in our form of government, I could not discuss it with them. And I told them I would bring it up at the meeting, that you and the mayor would reach out to discuss, sharing of their DPW site for our vehicles and men when our garage was down. So I'd appreciate if you and Mayor Calamari could reach out to Mayor Rucco and Councilwoman I'm going to butcher her name, Councilwoman T, and get back to us, please.
We have had some discussions regarding the DPW facility, and having seen their yard personally, I don't know how much opportunity there is there, but there are.
They reached out last week.
Councilman DeSena, please let him finish.
They reached out last week, Mr. Tovo, and asked, and I said I would relay it at the council meeting.
It would have been, just as a suggestion, it would be a good idea, since you spoke to them last week, to be, more timely. You could have emailed Mr. Tovo and let him know of your conversation.
That is for me to decide, Mrs. Feeny, not you.
That's a very valid point, Councilman DeSena. Thank you very much. Mr. Tovo, any other items? Or Mr. Mayor?
On the sewer line at the firehouse. The mayor was correct. That was shown to be in a different place on the schematic.
Yes, Stacey, if I may, I texted Mayor Rucco as soon as Councilman DeSena said that. He knows nothing of it, but he will check with the councilwoman because she is the liaison to their DPW. So he said he knows nothing about it, but we're happy to reach out. We'll do whatever we can to come up with a solution to this. So,
thank you, Mr. Mayor.
My pleasure.
Okay, from the mayor and the administrator, Mr. Pollard, do you have any comments on any of the items this evening?
Yeah. The only thing I wanted to say was on the question of zoning. Yes, zoning is an element that goes into the overall appraisal. So the current zoning of the property does factor in when the appraiser does his appraisal. I know one gentleman asked that question, and I wanted to respond to that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, my comments for the evening are, if possible, if the council agrees, I'd like to go over Mr. Tovo addressed the item for the refund for the retirees was reduction in Delta Dental's cost for $21,153. I think, does anybody have any other comments regarding that specific item?
Yes, Mrs. Feeney. Is that benefit available to all retirees, Mr. Tovo, or is that limited to the one person like we were told in the past?
My understanding is it's any retiree that chooses to. Like I said, I know it was discussed to discontinue this, but that was never a decision that the council came to. At least not here.
And Bob, it is correct. They pay the total out of pocket, right? It doesn't cost the town anything?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Regarding 450 Pascack, I myself am interested to hear additional information from the mayor this evening. I also agree. I'm very sorry that I can't share more information. Personally, as a resident, and since I grew up here, I am also very much in favor of all open space that we can attain for the town. It's important. We don't have enough of it, and anything that's available that we can obtain in order to improve the town would be a great opportunity. So if any members of the town or residents would have any ideas, please reach out to me anytime. Regarding rental properties, I also am very interested in that because I do think that that will impact our town, especially the schools and our everyday life here. So if I could get time maybe with the mayor and Mr. Tovo to review the rental property rules and see how we could better protect the township residents who are currently here, I think that's a great opportunity if that works. Regarding the firehouse, it's a shame that it wasn't in the original plans. I do understand that from what Mr. Connolly said, that the waste pipe is currently part of the active building. It's not part of the new building, and I would have to think that nobody would want waste disposing into the ground at all. So repairing was probably the best decision in order to protect the property. That's all the comments I have. Council Vice President Morgan.
Hi, yes, I wanted to ask Mr. Scalia. I am in agreement also with open space. I think we need as much of it as we can. I agree with the comment, I believe it was the mayor that made, made the point that once it's gone, you can't get it back. That's huge. That's a huge impact in how you look at it. That is definitely, I am looking forward to exploring that further. But I think Mr. Scalia had an excellent suggestion with a special meeting around the vision of the town with special attention to the overdevelopment and what our vision is as a collective. All the residents in town will have some time to chime in. I think we should try after the budget meetings are done to have a special meeting to just discuss that and keep it to that. So thank you, Mr. Scalia, for that outside of the box thinking. I'm all for that, and I look forward to that in the very near future. But as far as everything else, I think it was answered more than once. So yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you, Vice President Morgan. Councilman Cascio?
Yeah, I'm not going to reiterate all that was said with the open space. Obviously, we want to keep as much open space as we possibly can since it's a limited commodity. And it is hard to get back unless you buy a number of houses and bulldoze them to make a ball field, which is practically impossible and not feasibly expedient. Regarding limiting rental property, we have to be really careful where we tread there. When we talk about properties that people own and they are allowed to rent. So I would encourage the council to look into past precedent in other towns before we make any rash decisions. I do not want to infringe on the rights of a property owner to do what he or she may enjoy to do with their property within the scope of the current legislation we have. So again, just keep an open mind and let's think about property owners' rights as well. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Cascio. Councilman Cummings.
Hi, thank you. I think everything has been very, very well covered. I was interested in the comments by Mr. Scalia regarding the open space and the use of the property at 450 for a parklet or some such usage. And possibly we can put it together with some other properties in the vicinity. Of course, money is always a limitation on these things, but I'm a member of the Green Team, and I'm in favor of extending and not reducing our canopy in town and making the most of it and enforcing the 2-for-1 rule and perhaps having planning something for 450 that would include it as a mini park, in other words, and similar things. Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you, Councilman Cumming. Councilman DeSena.
Thank you, Council President. Two things, Mr. Scalia, Mr. Proto, we should look up on our website the master plan for the town and the new co-agreement that was just ratified that protects us from builder's remedy. There's 3 major developments going into town as part of these agreements. You know, you have all up on Van Emberg. One of them is all rental units. So we're going to get 35 rental units out of one of these developments. So it's sad that's going to happen, but that's what was agreed to. I'm all for responsible open space. We should be looking at all the avenues we have for funding for this open space. Our tax burden last year was very heavy, and it's very difficult to buy up this open space. It's worth a lot of money, of course, because it's in Bergen County. So I hope our grant writers and if we go to the Land Use Trust of New Jersey and see if we can use some of get loans at 0 interest or whatever from them, that would be very beneficial. I'm still saddened to see that I've asked the last 3 months that somebody visit 450 Pascack Road and condemn the home. The gentleman is still living there. It's deplorable. No human being should be living in that house. I drove by today and he was shoveling snow off his carpets. It's sad. If we need to do a well visit, Mr. Mayor, but something needs to be done because that home should not be inhabited. I don't know what else to ask. I've asked for the last 3 months that this be reviewed. So that's all I have, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman DeSena. Okay, moving on. Ordinances, adoption, second reading, none. Introduction, first reading. Ordinance number 21-01, an ordinance increasing the number of members serving on the Library Board of Trustees. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 21-01 at first reading by title. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, I'll second. Sue, roll call.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Council President Feeney?
Yes. Resolution number 21-154, authorizing publication of ordinance number 21-01 and schedule public hearing. I'll make a motion. I need a second, please.
Second.
So moved.
Sue, roll call.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes, please.
Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Council President Feeney?
Yes.
Just make a quick comment about that.
Yes, of course.
I did go back to the director pending the things that were brought up at the last meeting about having an odd number of people on the board. She is all in favor of it, but what she wants to do, if you see the ordinance says up to 7 people, what she'd like to do is appoint 1 this year when it's passed, and then 1 next year to bring it up to 7. That way she doesn't have 2 people's terms expiring in the same year. So just wanted to give you an update, and she thanked the members of the council for bringing that up.
Do any council members have an issue with that plan going forward?
Wouldn't that leave her an even number, Mr. Mayor? And that's why we made it odd?
Just for the balance of this year. And then she'll appoint a new one next year so she doesn't have the 2 terms co-expiring in the same year.
Okay.
Why
Do you have
don't
any
you can
existing
stagger
terms?
the initial term,
Sorry.
Mr. Mayor? You can stagger the initial term like you do with
Yeah.
the council seat when a town is originally planned. That's very common.
That's what I was going to try to
If
say.
they're,
Mr. Pollard, can
thank
you
you.
weigh in there?
Actually not. The statute says when you add 6th and 7th, they have to be 5-year terms.
Excuse me, Mr. Powell, say that again?
Under the statute, when it says that when you add 6 or 7, they have to be 5-year terms. The others were staggered when they set them up, and that was fine. But when you add 6 and 7, the statute talks about that they have to be 5-year terms.
And that's for every board, Mr. Powell?
The library board, the statute governing the library board.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue if that's how she wants to handle it, so she doesn't have expiring. It's completely understandable. I do agree. Yes, they've got even number now, but if she doesn't foresee a problem for the remainder of the year, she's running the board.
When are the
so.
expiration dates of the other members? When do they expire?
No,
Just like in the council, you have three or two that expire at the same time.
Offhand, I don't know, but
I'll check right now.
So if we take a break, I can go upstairs and I can look.
Yeah, the expiration date would be, beneficial because you can have two expire at the same time. There's nothing wrong with that. Just like in our council, we have three council members expire and then two council members and the mayor expires at the same time. So you can run it that way. So you can add two right now.
Let me see if I can.
Mr. Mayor, you're on mute, just so you know.
Oh, I wasn't saying anything, but thank you anyway. Thank you.
Okay, let's take a break and then Sue can get us the expiration dates of the other members. Unless anybody else has any other comments right this second. Okay, so Ricky, we're going to take a break. Sue, if you could get those dates, please.
there are currently 5 board members. Each of them serving a 5-year term. I take that back. Jacqueline Herbeck is doing an unexpired term because someone moved away. So she has got a short-term one. She's only going to be there for 2 years. But they're normally 5-year terms. One is at expiring 2021. The unexpired term will be 2022. Then we have 2 at 2023 and 1 at 2024.
Stacy, are we back on?
Yeah, I said that. Yes, we're back on.
Okay,
I
thank you.
have to get a Band-Aid. I'll be back.
Oh, oh.
Okay, so we have 1 term expiring 2021 this year, 1 2022, 2 in 2023, and 1 in 2024.
Yes. And these do not include the alternates, the mayor's alternate or the superintendent of schools alternate, because they're only a 1-year term.
Okay, so what does everybody think based on Mr. Mayor? You know the library board best, and Laura, I believe.
Yeah, again, it was just a comment she made. Since she is the director, I'd like to accommodate her. But if the council is strong that you want 2 people appointed in the same year, I will convey that to her.
Again, they're 5-year terms, so it's a pretty long way out from. That means if we appoint 2 at the same time, their expiration would be 2026. So we already have 2 that serve concurrent terms. It wouldn't really be any different. You'd have plenty of stagger with three other members. So making things complicated, doing one this year and then one next year, you can do it at the same time.
But Steve, correct me if I'm wrong.
That's my 2 cents.
Then the person who gets appointed in 2021 will also expire in 26. And so you potentially have 3 people.
25.
25, sorry about that.
I'm sorry, it's 25.
20, they would expire in 26, but if you, let's see, but you're doing it this year, right?
One person came off this year, right? Mr. Mayor, you appointed somebody, correct?
When would their
anyone who got appointed this year, their terms would expire in 26 also. So to do 2 and add 1, you would have 3 people expiring in the same year, I think, if I'm doing the math correctly.
You do 4 years. You're 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So they expire in December 31st. 25.
No, it's 5 years, isn't it?
Does she want this immediately, Peter? Does she want these people immediately for this year?
Well, again, she wants 1 this year and 1 next year. I think her goal is to not have more than 2 expiring in any one given year.
So it's 5 years. So would it be all of 21, all of 22, all of 23, all of 24, all of 25? They would be up for 26, correct?
Yeah, like 12/31/25 is their term of expiration. So you'd have the 1 on 21, 1 on 22, 2 at 23, 1 at 24, and then 2 at 25. So you would have 2 batches, 2 people at 2 years.
Yes, that's correct.
Instead of 3.
Right. So it'd be 1, 2. Yeah, two of the same year would expire at different years.
Yeah, you would have 2 at 21 then, or no, not really. You could be 21.
You would have the 2 that already been appointed because that person was replaced, right, Mr. Mayor? So you already appointed 1 person for the new renewal for this year. So you're saying in addition to that,
but that's an expired term.
Right, but that would still be this, if we did 2 more this year, would still be the same term as the person who was just appointed. That's where I think the clarification's coming in.
No, because the one that
I'll relay this to her and have an update. I didn't mean to take so much of the meeting's time on this first introduction.
Okay, so we can still, this is gonna be up again, so you can get some more information and get back to us and let us know.
Absolutely.
Does that work for the rest of the council?
Yes.
But my question is, are you introducing this tonight, or are we putting it on hold until you get more information and maybe reintroduce next meeting?
No, we did introduce it for tonight, didn't we?
Yes.
That's why I'm asking if that's the direction we're still going in right now.
Yes, it is.
Okey doke.
Would you all please excuse me for the evening? I feel a little dizzy and beat up, and I have taken a fall and here in the bedroom, and I think I'll need to go off the air for the rest of the evening.
Did you read Mary
Feel
now?
better, Art.
Yes, I'm going to go sit with her right now. Thank you.
Okay.
Feel
Feel
better.
better, Mr. Mims.
Feel better. Be safe.
Thank you very much, and I apologize for the inconvenience.
No, you feel better.
It's not
Thank
something
you.
to happen.
It's stupid. We're stupid, but
Art,
you all have a good evening, and thanks very much.
Art,
care.
we'll need help,
It
okay?
happened to any one of us.
Run over for anything.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Hope he's okay.
So he just tripped, he said, right? I thought that's
No,
what
he
he said.
fell backwards.
Oh, he fell backwards.
Fortunately, his wife is a nurse.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Respiratory therapist.
Always good to have a nurse around.
It doesn't hurt.
Resolution number 21-153, approval for authorization of 2020 transfer of appropriations reserve. I'll make a motion. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Stacy, this is for the $30,000 transfer, correct?
Yes.
No other comment. Thanks.
What's the necessary bills that have to be paid for the transfer?
Public service, electric and gas.
Mr. Tober, Mr. Mayor, do you want to comment on this?
I'll defer to Bob on it.
I believe we've already covered it. These are bills that came in late. Like I said, billing from them has been rather inconsistent this year, so we were rather surprised by it. It is true, so Mr. Cummings said we're paying about $1,500 in the equipment upgrade, but our other bills are still running pretty close to what they were. So we anticipate this year's budget. We brought the number down, assuming we're going to see more savings, but that's not what's vetting out, and we're looking more deeply into it.
With all these energy-saving things, I mean, did we underestimate what it was going to be by $30,000? That's what that's what concerns me.
Well, it turns up as well, and quite frankly, based on the numbers that Mr. Cumming referenced, we were basing at least part of the bill on that. But then we have street lighting and other things that are in there as well that, typically you go with your last year's number and you get a little bit of an elevator. But we need to get more information from PSE&G, and that's what we're working to do.
Yeah, it's like you said, you base it off last year's number, and I just don't see us going crazy. Did the price of fuel and electric go up that much? That's what I'm not understanding, I guess. So I don't know.
Well, Mr. Castor,
It's usually
look at the historical numbers, and other than the additional cost for the equipment, we need further explanation as to why that bill has jumped so high.
Yeah, I really don't want to pay it until I find out why that's crazy. I don't want to transfer the money, to be honest with you. I want to find out why is that number so much over what it should be. It should be within a couple of $5,000 plus or minus, not $30,000 plus or minus. I mean, am I crazy, or that just doesn't make sense to me? Someone leave lights on all day and the heater on and all that stuff.
to the best of my knowledge, that is not going on. With that said,
No, I didn't say it there. I'm just saying, that's all I could think.
Still, but if you give us till the next meeting, we can pull this and see if.
Okay, so I'll make a recommendation to table this. Mr. Tovo, do you think the time between now and the next council meeting is a good enough period of time for you to attain additional information to provide to the council?
I can't say I'm optimistic, but we can certainly try.
Okay, all right, so I'm all for tabling this. What does everyone else think?
I'm okay with
I
tabling.
think table until we get a better explanation.
Yes, it'd be great to have all the information so we can be definitely prepared for the next meeting. Councilwoman Morgan, what do you think?
I agree.
Okay.
Well, should we not do a motion and Ken?
Yeah.
You do a motion to table it.
Okay, do a motion to table it. I'll motion to table it. May I have a second?
I'll
So
second.
moved.
Second.
Okay, Sue, roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to resolutions consent agenda. The following items have been determined to have the unanimous consent of council and will be enacted in one motion. Should any item require independent consideration, any council member may have such item removed from the consent agenda. Does anybody want to have any of the below items removed before we move forward with the vote?
148, 155, please, Mrs. Feeney.
Resolution number 21-149, authorize refund of eligible retirees for Delta dental premium rates reduced by COVID. Resolution number 21-150, authorize mayor to execute memorandum of understanding for Habitat for Humanity. Resolution number 21-151, authorize mayor to execute addendum to roadway easement agreement in lieu of condemnation. E2110, lots 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 660 Pack Deck Realty LLC in the amount of not to exceed $158,000. Motion to approve consent agenda resolutions. I'll motion. I need a second, please.
Second.
I just have one question, Mr. Mayor, about the understanding for Habitat for Humanity. Is that information published on the website so people can see the changes in the income levels to show, or is it on the Habitat for Humanity website?
I must confess, I haven't looked at their website, but I'll reach out to them tomorrow and suggest that they do put it out there.
Okay, thank you.
But
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, 148 is the bills for January 15th, 2021 through, it's resolution number 21-148, authorized payment of bills, January 15th, 2021, January 27th, 2021. I'll make a motion. May I have a second, please?
So moved.
Okay, discussion? Just let us know what page you're on, please.
Page 8, Mrs. Feeney.
Which page 8 are you on?
Purchase order listing by PO number.
Yeah, but which, fine. Yeah. Page 8.
Yeah.
Mr. Tovo, the Boswell bill for $29,225.94. It's for intersection at Pascack and Washington. What did that entail?
That was re-engineering of specs that were changed by the county, dealing with PSEG on the pole placement and easement, and also working with 660 Pascack on their part of the redesign of their current space decisions.
Is that work that's included in the original proposal, or is this all out of scope work?
This is work outside of their retainer. This is work that is directly built for the intersection project. But it would be included in their original agreement on this.
So is this coming out of the original proposal or not? That's why I couldn't hear you.
Yes, I believe it is. I will double check that for you, Bill. Should be.
Okay, on page 10. We have Lurch Vinci Higgins, Assist CFO and Tax Collector, General Ledger.
Where is that, Mike?
Bottom of the page 10, bottom of the 10, Mrs. Morgan.
Yeah,
Bottom of page 10, Bob?
I got it.
Sorry, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but
Yes, Mr. Chubba, we can hear you. Yes. So Lurch, Ms. Councilman DeSena is asking about Lurch Vinci Higgins, Assist CFO and Tax Collector with General Ledger.
We've done every year, so I'm not sure what the question is.
Do you know what activities were involved in helping the CFO and Tax Collector with the General Ledger? Were they closing out the year? Was it year-end review? Was it some sort of reconciliation issue? Do you have any details possibly?
Closed out last year, which is something that we utilize them for every year.
We're paying the CFO, and then we're paying Lurch to do the same duty. That's what I think I don't understand a lot. Basically, what's a SIFT? Here's again the problem I have with it is you have someone keeping the books and someone overlooking the books, doing the books, and that's still a concern I have when we're talking about doing ledgers and having audits. I have issues with that, and even I'm told it's compartmentalized because it's a big firm. There's nothing held at bay when it comes to a big firm. Doesn't happen that way.
No, actually, that's not true. That's not true. I'm sorry.
Excuse me.
No,
Ms.
excuse
Feeney.
you. That is not true. I'm allowed to voice my opinion. Thank you very much, Councilman Casio.
I'm sorry, but I don't have that same feeling that there's not a line in the sand when it comes to big firms. They all talk to each other. It happens. We know it happens, and I have an issue with that. And that's my
If you would like to actually submit some backup or some documentation that would show us that, so if we had to move forward a different choice in the future for
That's my
auditors, I think
concern.
that would be greatly appreciated, and then the council would be well informed.
I'm sure.
Mr. Tovo,
Could you possibly obtain some the records for this item and then submit to the council so we could have it for review?
Yes, I can do that.
Mr. Tovo, on the same page, Treasurer, State of New Jersey, DCA training fees, non-budgeted line item, DCA fees, $2,959.
I'm looking for it.
It's mid-page 10. It's 21-00083.
It's the fourth one from the bottom on the purchase order page 10.
Wrong page.
Fifth from the bottom, sorry.
Honestly, I'm going to have to check that one. It's not ringing a bell.
I just don't understand. If we have a non-budgeted line item, why did we encumber the expense first without changing the budget first?
So this didn't have anything to do with the convention, did it?
no.
No, okay,
Nothing was paid for that, yeah.
okay.
I lost it. What
The
page?
check was made out to Treasurer, State of New Jersey, Mrs. Feeney.
No, I understand that completely. Thank you very much for the clarification, Councilman DeSena.
What page are you on again, guys? I'm sorry.
Page 10.
And it's
Okay.
halfway down.
Halfway down, okay. Treasurer, DCA training fees,
That's
non-budgeted
the error in
line.
the memo line.
Q4. No, I don't have a clue in that one. Sorry.
Okay, thanks.
Nope.
Thank you very much.
I'll wait for one from our CFO tomorrow on that.
Could we pull that line out of the payments, please?
21-0008.
I
Can I
have one.
continue, Mrs. Feeny?
Just wait, actually, I'm, just 1 second, I'm looking something up, thank you.
All right.
Two one dash 0008.
The quarter four. Let's see what that could be.
Sue, can I ask you a question now that there's a moment of downtime?
Sure.
On these bill lists, when the council gets it, if they have questions, can they email them to Bob ahead of time? That way, we're not going through this every meeting. So it's just a delay to the meeting. But I don't want to violate any open public meeting act or anything like that. But especially because we canceled the last meeting, the bills we're looking at now are already somewhat dated.
Absolutely. I mean, especially, well, you'll get the bill list on Thursdays in your packets. The meeting's on Monday. There's no reason why an email cannot be sent between that and Monday morning. And then Monday morning, whoever needs to address it to get an answer for the meeting.
Right, okay. So just something for the council to keep in mind.
And if you want, send it through me and I'll make sure it goes over to Bob or to Dina, whoever, John,
Sure.
whoever needs to go to. Or,
Yeah, and if the council sends it to you, Sue, then you can distribute it and then we'll know ahead of time that someone's asking the question and all the information can be, I think that should be prudent and productive. Okay, sorry, Councilwoman Morgan, go ahead.
I was saying that's a very good idea. I had one question. Mr. DeSena, were you done or no?
No, I have a couple more. If you want to go, Mrs. Morgan, you can go. I can go when you're done.
Mine's probably simple. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, if you're on, if you're on our next page or on the same page.
I'm on page 11.
Okay, do you have anything between now and page 11, Councilman DeSena?
No, I'm on page 13 next.
Okay, so go ahead, Councilman Morgan.
So it's just clarification. I just wanted to know. The first one from the bottom, 21-00105, 6 light towers for 2455.33. And then it says for recreation, lacrosse league and ref fees. So I know that we rented those light towers last fall because we were cheering in the dark. Is it for the light towers or was it because of lacrosse league and ref fees that we're paying that money? 24.
It was solely for the light towers, but those are the only available appropriate line items because it was not a planned expense.
Okay, and how often do we pay that?
That was a one-time fee.
So we're just paying it now for last fall?
Yeah, the bill was late coming to us, so we, so it's on this list now.
Okay, okay.
Councilman DeSena?
On page 13, Mr. Tovo, line 21-00139, Principal Life Insurance Company, life insurance payment for February. Do we know what this is for? Because it's such a low number. Is it for a single person?
Basically, the policy is for the police department. And generally, it's a low number.
What's that?
It generally is a very low number.
Okay. And my final question on this bill list is on page 14, Paramus Moving Company, Moving and Storage, $11,553, ordinance number 17-04, DMF building.
That is for the moving and storage of all the furniture and other material that was in the lower level of Township Hall, so that space could potentially be occupied by the DPW during their renovation period.
Where do we move that furniture and store? Are we going to have a monthly storage fee now?
Included in that number, the move and the storage for 2 years.
Thank you, Mr. Tova.
Okay. Does anybody have any other items on resolution number 21-148? Okay. Sue, roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Resolution number 21-155. May I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second. Discussion?
I guess the first question I had was answered by Mr. Tova previously, that the Sefeli and Son Police Station drainage work is for retainage, right, Mr. Tova?
That is correct.
On page 5, Interglobe Communications Inc. for telephones and telephone municipal court. Did we get new phones, or what is that for?
Interglobe is a Verizon business partner, and we're using them to manage their phone use. So we have so many lines out there that can be retired or retired, and all of our bills consolidated. So I would say at this point they've consolidated 90% of our bills. There's an occasional Verizon bill that we get in that they immediately jump on and get that taken care of. So worked out well. They've also been able to assist us in establishing our own fiber network at a much lower cost than we originally thought was possible. So it's been a big benefit to us. You know, we just weren't getting responsiveness from Verizon directly. Our bill has also gone down in this area as a result.
Next question I have is the next line below it for commercial recreation, lightning services, 2475. What is that for, Mr. Tova?
That is a yearly maintenance contract for the lightning detection system.
But aren't we in a shared services agreement with the Board of Education and 2 other towns on that?
And we get billed directly for our share of that.
Okay, thank you. On page 6, Boswell Engineering for another $5,000 for the intersection.
Correct. Same as before, the bills are coming in as the work is being done.
On same page 6, SCS contracting it, cut and grade area for sheds, $19,750.
What page is that? I'm sorry.
Page 6, the last line, Mr. Tovo, $19,750 for SCS contracting, various improvements, section 20, ordinance 1704, which is the DMF ordinance, correct?
Correct. That is for the placement of storage shed at Sherry Field to facilitate the disbursement of DPW equipment during the renovation.
So we are putting sheds at Sherry Field? I thought we weren't doing anything at Sherry Field, the mayor stated before.
I don't recall the mayor saying that, but yes, we are. I'm sorry, I stand corrected. Not Sherry, that's typo. You're going on to Memorial.
Correct. I was just going to jump in and say that.
Okay.
And these are sheds that will, yeah, and these are sheds that will stay past the DPW project to store field equipment in.
What did this entail, Mr. Tova? We cut, where are we putting these sheds at Memorial?
The property of Memorial closest to the hill that we're doing the high school property, there needs to be a cut in and a retaining wall so the soil doesn't erode onto the new sheds.
Yeah, it's Washington School, not the high school. Yeah, they're cutting into that hill a little bit to take space from there.
And how would the DPW access those sheds, Mr. Mayor?
Well, they will be facing out onto the field, but we're just cutting into the hill a little bit to get them off the field as far as possible.
And
But
what's
when we
going to be stored there, Mr. Mayor? What's going to be stored there?
Again, ongoing just field equipment, because the DPW has said that if they have to go back into their existing footprint for the new building, which it looks like, that they could use more space at the actual fields to store field equipment.
And what's going to be stored there for the DPW in the meantime? Will it be accessible from the field?
Yeah, everything will be accessible from the field.
But it would only be to
the mowers for maintenance, the aerators for raking the field, and the turf blankets that we use to store when we're not using them.
Mr. Tova, could you just say that again? It wasn't, your voice wasn't clear.
Mowers and other equipment to maintain the fields, the aerator to rake the field, and also storage of the seasonal blankets that we put down on the field.
So we wouldn't be having to access it with trucks or anything. It's only Memorial Field equipment that would maintain Memorial. So we're not gonna have to like drive across the infield with a dump truck to unload or load up anything, Mr. Mayor, correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tova. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
That's all I have, Mrs. Feeney.
Okay. Anybody else have any other items? Okay. Sue, roll call, please.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
You're on.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay, adjournment to conference agenda. I'll make a motion. May I have a second?
No move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Ordinances and legislation, amend ordinance 19-25, modifying procedures for the payment of bills, including any payment that council has already approved via resolution. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I sent to the council an informational message on January 21st that I will just read because it summarizes it to put it into the record. In reviewing procedures in the planning, zoning, and building departments, it appears that the town is unnecessarily delaying the return of unused escrow payments to our residents. In order for a resident to obtain the return of the escrow monies, there is currently a two-step process. A, the council approves the refunding of the escrow payments via a resolution, and then B, council approves the bill list at the council meetings, and the check is on the list of payments. The second step is delaying our township residents from receiving their monies timelier. As you are aware, there are currently categories of payments that do not require council approval, such as payroll and utilities. In an effort to better serve our residents, I'm going to request at the next meeting that the council change the ordinance to add another category to include any payment that the council has already approved via a resolution. And as it so happens, the tax collector told me today that she had an inquiry because we skipped the last meeting, that the bill list, that's one condition that it happens under. But I don't see a reason for it to be a two-step process. In my opinion, if the council approves it via a resolution, I'm sure they're going to approve it at bill list time. So again, just to get the money back to our residents in a timely fashion.
Okay, comments from since we all received this email prior, I'm sure we all reviewed it. Any comments, Councilman Casio?
Yeah, I don't mind returning the escrow monies quicker. Obviously, it's a long process. People have their money tied up. So I would definitely go along with that. That's not a problem. It's very rarely that we don't return escrow monies in the end. So if the people can get their money a little bit quicker, I'm okay with it. The second half, I don't know if I'm in favor of that. I still think there should be some oversight in regards to the council when it comes to paying some bills. So I would probably leave that portion alone at this point. So that's where I feel it should be at this point.
Councilwoman Morgan.
Wait, I didn't really understand that, by the way. Just, am I?
Yeah, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
We're talking about escrow monies, right?
No, we're talking about, no, I think what the mayor's saying is if the council has already reviewed something and actually taken a vote and actually adopted a resolution, they've already voted that that's a good thing to pay. So it's an actual oversight nothing's being paid until the council does it. But if the council passes a resolution and says, yes, it could be paid, then that could automatically go on for payment along with some of the other things that don't have to be on the bill list in advance, like payments to the library, like the utility payments, and like the recurring payments, because the council has already voted. So it's like they already looked at it. You already voted. So there is oversight.
Right, Mr. Powell, and that's how it was clearly explained in the email the mayor had sent all of us. Just
I understand.
Yeah.
So, yes, I also agree. I'm in favor of paying once the initial resolution's passed. We should pay it. I do also agree that the escrow, people should be getting their money back sooner rather than later. So I think it's a great suggestion there.
Councilman DeSena?
I appreciate the mayor taking on this, this review, but the real review should be the original submission. We have residents waiting 8 months for permits to be approved, and it's a huge backlog that we have, and it's becoming, I think that's the bigger issue. I have no objection to returning people their money, but I think we need to review the first step and not the last step. It's an issue. We've gotten many complaints in the last 4 years about it. It's still not resolved. I know residents since July that are waiting for permits and they still haven't gotten them. Between now the change of Azalino and Boswell, it's going to make it even more cumbersome, and they're going to have to spend even more escrow money because now Boswell needs to finish the review that Azalino never finished. So I think that's something the council should take up, because I think it's a burden that we're putting on the residents by changing engineer midstream. I would ask the mayor to
please stick to the agenda item, not the engineer.
And I'd ask the mayor to his reviews so the residents don't need to pay more money.
But okay, and I am in agreement. Yes, Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you. Mike, I said in my opening remarks that I'm meeting with all the people in those departments to review the application process from start to finish. So it is actively being worked on. One of the things was making Boswell the engineer because, we saw that there was a need for that. The Azalinas will be finishing out any one that they had, so the residents will not be double billed for 2 engineers.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you for the Mr. Mayor. It's much appreciated. And I am also in agreement that after the resolution is approved, along with Councilwoman Morgan, that the residents should be issued their refunds of the escrow monies, and it does not need to be added to the bill list since it's already being approved under resolution. Okay. So Mr. Power, how do we proceed?
I'll just make an amendment to that section of the code and just add another category of any expenditure which has been approved by council resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Very simple, nothing exotic.
Okay, Sue, can you add that to the next meeting's agenda, please?
Noted.
Thank you very much. budget submission date to reflect, okay, so this is something that I was reviewing. The recommendation I'm making is that Sue, correct me if I'm wrong, our budget submission date in the ordinance says January 15th, correct?
Yes.
Okay. However, it seems to be that every year we get an extension. So I'd like the code to be amended to reflect the extension when advised by DCA, so that we are following what's going on a regular basis and meeting the needs of the council and not having it be out of sync with DCA. I think that's important. So Councilman Casio, what's your opinion?
Could I jump in first?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Mr. Pollard. Go ahead.
If you don't mind, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I understand what you're saying. The code is fine. The reason for the code is that, in other forms of government, there isn't a transmission, okay, of the budget, because the council is doing the budget. So it's the step that the Faulkner governments have, that they have to have a transmission. So there's a statute that says, and the statute does say January 15th, but there's another statute that says it could be extended already, and it's a matter of law. So the code does not have to be changed.
Doesn't, okay.
The law basically is part of it acts on the code, but it's already in the 48 code 4-5.1, and that is, it provides for extension dates.
Okay, great.
And even in the local finance notice, it even talks about the Faulkner government. So I just don't think it's necessary to change the code. The code's fine. I mean, I think what's wrong is if people go berserk and start saying, January 15th, you violated January 15th. Well, not if the local finance board extended it, which they do every year, obviously. But that's just the statutory setup. The code is fine, and the statutes are fine. So,
okay, mute point, so we can move on. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
As long as I just didn't want to be out of sync.
Yeah, no, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay. Moving on to financials, budget update 2021. I actually do have an update on this also. Councilman DeSena?
You said you had an update. Go ahead, Mrs. Feeney.
Well, no, you put it on the agenda, so why don't you go ahead?
Sure. I just wanted to see, I know we had scheduled some meetings that we had to cancel. I know the first one was not put on the website, that it was canceled. So I just want to let if we can get an update of when we think. I know we had 4 meetings scheduled already. We've canceled 3 of them. Do we think, we spent money advertising for these meetings? So if we can get a firm date so we can all start making our schedules. I know Mr. Mayor had stated before we'd have it either the end of this week or before the 26th. So just curious of where it stands. And will the budget be complete, or will we have to wait for parts to come in after we receive it, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. As I said in my opening remarks, I did want to address this in the conference agenda also. The budget is mostly done. There are probably less than 10 line items that still need a little clarification. However, if some of you remember last year, some members of the council had an issue when I submitted before the deadline and then wanted to make changes. And so obviously I can't have that, and unless the council is willing to say, yes, if you get it to us sooner before the deadline, we will give you the courtesy of changing these, few line items that still need more information.
I don't know about that. I just want to throw that out. I'm not so sure about that you can do that informally. Once you submit it to them, it's the council's budget, and then you get into the idea of the 4 votes and the 3 votes. So I think that's not such a terrific thing to
recommend. You're saying
it's the first time I'm hearing
it's got to be complete at the time of submission.
Okay, then I have to revise what I said in the beginning. As I said, I might, based on this part of the meeting, you'll have it before the statutory deadline, maybe a day or 2 sooner.
With that being said, Sue, can you move the budget meetings that were previously scheduled to the first week of March? And if it's okay with everybody, based upon a few council members reaching out to me, we'd like to make the budget meetings Mondays and Thursdays.
Mondays are great. I think Mondays work. Stacy, I appreciate that. Thursdays may be difficult for me, but I will try.
And that might be difficult with court.
I'm sorry. Mike, I heard what you said, just so you know. I didn't hear what Sue said. So
You have to worry about court on Thursdays.
So you know what? I'm going to regroup with Sue and the calendar, and I will email you either tomorrow or I will email the council and the administration and Mr. Poller either Thursday or Friday with a new set of dates. So everybody watch out. But if because of the timing now, if you would please get back to me as soon as possible with any dates that don't work with your schedules. And also, if there's any specific days that you have ahead of time that you could email me, so I could make that ahead of time and not email you guys and then wait for you to respond back. So if there's dates that you're not available, period, or times during the day that don't work at all, if you could email me by Thursday, please, I would then be able to plan better with Sue.
Stace, are we doing this like the budget meetings? Are we doing them same time, 7:30? Are they going to be earlier? Are they going to be?
I looked at the calendar. When we have a council meeting, it'll be during conference agenda, and then when we don't have a council meeting, I'd like to do either 6:30 to 8:30 or 7 to 9. So if you
8:30 is great. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, that works.
Yes, I didn't want to go too late because everybody gets punchy. So, but if you could let me know, please, dates that definitely don't work ahead of time so I could make the plan and we don't have to modify it, it would just facilitate the process a little bit smoother. Does that work for everybody?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure.
And then I'll try two council members have reached out and said Saturdays don't work for them right now due to previous obligations. So if we have to have a third meeting during the week to meet our deadline of reviewing the budget, I will speak to the council about that ahead of time. Okay.
Stacy, can I clarify? We're canceling out this Saturdays and
Monday. Yeah.
March 6th, correct?
Yeah. And then so this Saturday is the 20th.
The 21st, 20th, 20th. Yes.
Okay. So this Saturday is the 20th, and then cancel the 27th also, please.
Okay.
Because that, if we get it by the 26th, it won't be enough time for everybody to review.
All right. And then I'll talk
But I would like to know if when we get it by the 26th, that Monday, the first Monday in March, it's necessary that we start right away at that conference agenda. So
Can we have the fire department or departments that we know are easy to do like that Monday? So this way we can just focus on the fire department or the police department because those are easy departments to get through, Mrs. Feeney.
I'll see when we get the budget, if there's anything open and then who's available, depending upon their own schedules, who can be up first.
Okay. But it would be nice to have one of those departments because then this way we don't have much to review and then give us more time to review all the nitty gritty of all the other items.
Yeah, I already have a list of departments and I had already picked what meetings I had wanted them at, but because we didn't get the budget yet, I didn't put that out there. So I want to go back and recheck to make sure that they would be available on the days we pick. I don't want to put it out there to us if I haven't spoken to them and they're not free. Okay. I think we are definitely be going with every Monday as a definite. So if 6:30 to 8:30 on Mondays works, just email me and let me know, and then I'll work on picking other days during the week if we have to float due to court and planning board and zoning board and whatever else is going on. Okay. Is that good with everybody for the budget? Any more questions?
That's fine.
Okay. Anybody else? Desiree, you're good? Okay. Sue and the mayor have an update on commuter parking.
Not the highest, the mayor to me.
Bob, you correct me if I'm wrong, but the place we are negotiating with, the agreement was turned back over to them for their review sometime last week.
So you're just working.
Mayor, the issue here is they're having a lot of operational issues because of COVID and too many people working remotely. I've asked them to double their efforts in getting that back to us, and they should be able to do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Anybody have any questions on that, or we're good? Okay.
Okay.
Councilman DeSena, snow removal? I'm sorry,
have,
no, township deposit procedures for deposits to the bank.
Mr. Tovo, do we have a step procedure of how the township deposits are made? Because the way it was explained to us a few years ago is that we have one bonded employee, and that person, we get an insurance policy because they are the keeper of the money. And they are the only ones that are supposed to be making deposits. I've been to the bank several times and seen DPW personnel making deposit. Those people are not bonded, and God forbid, I'm not claiming any impropriety. I'm just worried that God forbid somebody hijacks them or steals the money from them. They're not bonded, and our insurance company will not cover it. So do we have an actual procedure of why we're sending the DPW? And I just hate to see them using their own lunch hour to go make deposits for the town. I don't think it's fair.
I've never heard they're doing it on their lunch hour to make those deliveries. But to answer your question, the person preparing the deposit must be bonded. Because I don't want to be the tax collector and myself, which they're covered under separate bonds, and there's nothing in the provision that says who has to actually deliver. In most towns, either the DPW or the police that makes the physical delivery.
I'm just concerned that, sending somebody that, it should be the person creating the receipt that goes and delivers that deposit.
That's what he said. He said the person preparing the deposit is bonded.
Yeah, but they're not delivering it to the bank. So what happens between our building and the bank? I know it's next door, but we're talking a lot of money being deposited on a daily basis between taxes and all the fees we collect. I don't understand why we would send, a DPW person and not the person that's bonded, or not either, whether it's one person or the bonded bunch, one of those people going and delivering the deposit.
Well, quite frankly, I've never heard this question raised. Like I said, normally it's the DPW or the police that do it. If you're recommending a change to what we do, I would recommend the police escort the bonded person to the bank.
I would have no objection to that. I just don't think that employee should be responsible for that amount of cash. God forbid they drop that envelope. I know they're only going one building away, but it's a lot of responsibility for a person that is not responsible for the finances of the town, and that's what I'm concerned with.
I'm more concerned with their safety now. They bring this up, so I would recommend that even if I'm concerned it would result in delay in getting deposits there. But if your concern is, I would hope safety along with the appropriate person.
Absolute safety. In this total time.
Councilman DeSena, please let him finish.
No, I am.
Mr. Colbo, it's absolutely safety. I don't think that person should be carrying around that deposit bag. What's that?
You never mentioned the word safety. I did.
I'm agreeing with you.
Thank you.
I appreciate your law enforcement background, and safety is the correct word.
Bob, you look into that?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Okay, snow removal, Councilman DeSena?
You said you had something to add, Stacy, to the deposit, the prior.
That was actually budget.
No, that was.
Oh, that was a budget. I'm sorry. Since our property maintenance officer is no longer the recreation director, and he has more time to work, has he been driving around the towns and looking at the issues we brought up before about the sidewalks not being plowed and being shoveled within 12 hours as per the ordinance? Has that been being done, Mr. Tova?
That is being done.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mrs. Speedy.
Resolution number 21-152, radio communication system property lease and acquisition, Cedar Smoke Shop, motion to enter into closed session. I'll make the motion. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 The next regular meeting of the Township Council will be on Monday, March 1st, 2021, beginning at 7:30 p.m. The conference agenda will be a budget session. Please keep that in mind. Sign up for e-alerts and Swift 911 notifications at www.twpofwashington.us. Mr. Power, we're not coming back, correct? I can tell Ricky he can come down.
Yeah,
and
no,
step
we're
in.
not coming back.
Ricky, we're not coming back, so you can come down and go home.